Hello, good evening, everyone. It's been a very frustrating week in a lot of markets, hasn't it? Feels like it's swimming in mud, certainly in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has been really lagging. I think one of the best. Oops, I got the noise. I think one of the nastiest warning signals in Bitcoin was on Friday, when we had that big jobs number that was really, the hourly wages, it was really inflationary. And we saw a big rally in stocks, although not the greatest in the Nasdaq, and the big drop in the dollar, and Bitcoin didn't react. And that was one of those things that normally you would have seen quite a big reaction in Bitcoin in, and it didn't happen. So it was really kind of lagging, and I think it was quite a good warning indicator, because in terms of risk at turns, everybody thinks everything goes together, but I actually think that gold and Bitcoin go before the other markets, so they're a bit of a leading indicator. Anyway, how are we looking here? Because in these stock indexes in Bitcoin, quite a few markets, we've had one swing of a drop. Corrections are normally 3 waves, impulse moves are normally 5 waves. I feel like, to be honest, from the high in February, and this Nasdaq kind of bears it out, that we've been in one big correction since then. So this has been a big 3-wave move. This rally was a 3-wave move. I find it hard to see 5 waves in it. And this move here, we got a little double top. I'm going to count it from here. I'm expecting a 3-wave move lower. Now, if I'm wrong, normally you would say, well, if this is wave 1 and this is a new bullish move, we shouldn't really trade under this level. So we can say, right, this is a kind of our bull bear line in the Nasdaq, and it's a little bit lower, comes from those highs. We wouldn't want to close underneath that line. That's at 13,296, and we've got potentially support here, 50% of this swing, and the daily 50 moving average normally at one of these levels I would expect to bounce tomorrow, and then we'll see if we go more than halfway back. Perhaps we go all the way back to the top of the range, but more likely, we continue lower. So that's how I'm seeing stock indexes. How about the dollar, which has just fallen out of bed? Normally, in the dollar index, a big drop in the dollar index would be a really good bullish support for Bitcoin, and it really hasn't. Sorry, this is the yuan. I'm looking at the wrong chart. It really hasn't been. In fact, it's struggled. Now, what's happened today, I think that we've met potentially a decent support level in the dollar index at this 786 fib level. I think if I was going to bet where we would bounce from, this would be it. And so, it's not a guarantee, obviously. So I've been watching lower time frames to see if we can kind of make a base here, turn things around. So far, it's very slow on this hourly. Obviously, on the hourly reversal, we need to take out these highs. The thing is, with a reversal at a 786 fib, your first target is back to the 61.8, and only if it's like a step ladder, and only if you get above that do we confirm the bullish reversal. And so that would be our first target, back to 90.82, and if we get above it, we're going to be looking from here for back to this 200 moving average and back to the 38.2 fib at 91.82. That would be the target for the dollar index. If that happens, if we get this bullish reversal in the dollar, that will be also downward pressure on Bitcoin from here. So watching this closely, it doesn't look at all equal, but potentially we could see a start of a bounce from here. So in that. So those are the drivers, if you like, that I'm looking at that tend to affect Bitcoin. Let's start here with a weekly chart. So much like the Nasdaq, I think that we've been at a choppy sideways correction since this February high. It feels like we've done a big ABC up. Perhaps we can see it more clearly on the hourly. So we had this drop, the big ABC up, and now I feel like we're going to do an ABC down again. I don't know, this looks to me like a rising wedge. So if this were to break to the downside, I'd be looking for another swing lower. If I go back and I put my fibs on, see if they help us. Which way next for direction? Because let's face it, this last sort of 10 days has been a complete chop fest, hasn't it? And very, very hard to make money, no direction. If we look at our daily moving averages, you can see that they're completely flat, pinched up in the middle in the same point, and that's our support at the moment. And, you know, really, that means no trend. It means sideways range, and that's exactly what we've got in Bitcoin here. So from these highs, you know, we couldn't close at a new high. Since the start of May, really, we've been going sideways in an even tighter range in the middle of this big swing. So until we break out, honestly, you've got to be really, really, if you're trading short term, like if you bought Bitcoin at, I don't know, $3,000, you don't care about this choppy sideways wave 4 price action. But if you bought it more recently, or if you're more of an active trader, this is, you know, this sideways is death on a stick, really. So, yeah, I find this actually a little bit double toppy. I would call it, on a weekly, I would call this a swing failure pattern at the moment. That's where, you know, unless we end up at new highs, of course. And that's where you make a marginal new high, can't sustain it, and reverse. And that's what we've done today. This little high today, we made a marginal new high. If we look, the high on the 8th of May was 59,551. The high today on the 10th of May, 59,594. So we made a marginal new high, tricked everybody that we were going up, and then completely obliterated them, you know, last... So pretty nasty, really nasty price action. Any kind of fail breakout move, any direction, is always a really strong reversal signal. And so that's what, based on that strong reversal signal, yesterday's candle was a hanging man. That's probably the worst performing bearish candle there is. But this is called dark cloud cover. And this is a key outside. Actually, if we take this candle, we've got a bearish engulfing candle. So nasty reversal price action confirmed if we break underneath these moving averages and this sort of pivot level here in the middle. If we look at our fibs for confirmation level we got from this high, let's put a magnet on, line them up properly. They tell us this is still really a messy, we're in that golden ratio zone in between the 61.8 and the 38.2 fibs are called the golden ratio zone. It's where the bulls and bears tend to fight it out. The 50% level in the middle is usually a bit of a pivot level, and it acts as support and resistance. I can't mark it like this, and that's at 55,955. I've got the index chart, so it should be, your mileage might vary a little bit, but it should be a pretty good, meridian. Anyway, basically below 56,000, I think we are looking at a further drop to 53,000, back to the bottom of this sideways range. And our sideways range is actually a little bit lower than that. And below 53,000, we're going to drop down to 51,200. Now, if this is our first swing, and this is our second, and we're looking for our third swing, the first and third swings often have a mathematical relationship. So the minimum we would be looking for would be for this third swing to be 61.8 of this first swing, and that actually brings us down to 48,500. So yeah, I think that this is quite important support, and back below 56,000, even if I was a long-term hodler, I would probably sell some, because I think we can buy it back on a dip, and 48,500, if all the markets roll over, is very, very doable for a target. So, Nick, there is an echo. Okay, I can't, I've got my headphones on and I can't hear it, so I'm sorry about that. Perhaps you might be playing in two windows, or check that you haven't got me open in two windows. That would cause it. All right, how about in Ethereum? Ethereum is much, much more bullish. So I've got big fib levels here. And I feel like we haven't quite reached our next upside target, which is 4,300. But what we have reached is a kind of a big round number at 4,000. We've gone beyond it, and Ethereum really likes round numbers. We had a really good little stop at 3,000 here, you know, and we went and 3,500 was in the middle. It just kind of likes those round numbers. 2,500 was these highs, and so I'm looking for, if we're going to keep going up, I am looking for this 4,000 price point to be kind of support. That's where this upper line is. That's these highs here, and that's this low here on this 4 hour today. So as long as we stay above 4,000, my next upside target in Ethereum is 4,300. If we look in terms of daily candlesticks or 4 hour candlesticks, we've got, you know, we've got a beautiful daily green candle. Obviously we haven't really got a reversal here on the 4 hour either, so nothing to worry about in ETH yet. And what I like about ETH Bitcoin here is I had my fibs from this low to high. I think we're not looking at the right ones, and we've still got more upside to come now. And our target for ETH Bitcoin, for when is ETH going to stop outperforming Bitcoin basically? Well, I put my fibs on from the low to the high, so the all-time low back here in November 2015. And we, in ETH Bitcoin, reversed an 886 fib level. And we did pay attention to this 786, which was the kind of confirmation level. When you reverse an 886, your first target is the 50%, back to the 50%, and that is here at 0.0789. So a little bit further to go until we get that ETH Bitcoin target. That's when I think, you know, we may see a bit of a bigger pullback. If we go beyond that level, then our next upside target is a 236, which is all the way up here at 0.119. So I'm not saying that all of this way ETH is necessarily going to go up. It may be, you know, that ETH and Bitcoin both fall, but ETH falls less than Bitcoin. So we need to be a bit careful. But when I'm certainly overweight ETH versus Bitcoin until we get up to this level. Okay. All right. So next one we're going to look at is ADA, then Ripple. We're going to look at some of these big blue chips and see if they look as toppy as Bitcoin. So ADA, for me, I thought we had a really nice little breakout. So I put my fibs on from this high to this low. We could have done it from this one for this whole consolidation, in which case this puts us almost, doesn't it, at a 61.8. I'll take my notes off here. Now, we need to be a little bit clever, because let's put it on log scale. This is wave 1, this is wave 2, this is wave 3, and we've started, sorry, this is wave 4, and we started wave 5. Then wave 1 and wave 5 normally have a fib relationship. So I'm going to measure from wave 1 and project from the bottom here of wave 4. And I've got quite a few extension levels put in, and you can see that they actually they did work quite well so far. I've got quite a few of them. Okay, so we're above the 260, we got above the 4.236, and so this kind of combination here, I think we are very close to where I was looking for as a target for ETH. The next target is all the way sorry, not ETH, for ADA. Next target is all the way up here at 2.4. So I had 1.83 and 2.4. This high didn't quite get there. Well, 1.833, it was a zone. And so potentially, yes. When I look at this, though, when I look at the lower time frame, I like to see if it can, I'm not quite sure, you know, we're done. So when I'm not quite sure I'm done, I'm going to hide everything else. So for this short-term rally from the April low, I put my fibs on and retrace fibs, so like this. And as long as we stay above the 236 fib, then say we're still in an uptrend. So I'll put that back into linear scale. And so big picture, ADA tether, as long as we stay above 161, this is just a pullback in an uptrend. And if we look where our daily moving averages are, we're quite a long way from this 20 moving average. We could very easily come back to this low before we carry on higher and not do any damage to the trend. So on this pullback, if we come back more than 50% of normally with a big thrust candle like this, I would look for 50% of this candle to be support. And so I would do the same here, 50% of this candle, and I would mark where that level is. And so if we're going to stay super trendy, we're going to stay above 1.6935. And that's exactly what we've done today, haven't we? So we're all good. That's our low today. But if we were to break that low and continue lower, then as long as we stay above 1.6152, still a uptrend for ADA, and I think looking really quite good. So yeah, nothing to worry about in terms of the bigger trend yet. Underneath 1.6152, yeah, a bigger correction underway, 1.49 maybe, and then I would say, back really to these daily moving averages. So okay, ADA still outperforming then and looking really good. How about Ripple? Because Ripple, unfortunately, hit a big target up here. Let's take my notes off at 1.7. Now, I wasn't sure this drop here. This is potentially a 3-day reversal candlestick pattern if we were to close more than 50% down on this green candle, this big green thrust candle. If you have a big green candle like this, followed by doji, followed by a bearish reversal, then you would need to close more than 50% down for this to be a weekly reversal candle. It's not. What we've done instead is chopped and gone sideways by and holding this support. So I'm not entirely convinced that this is the high. I don't think it is. I think that this is a wave 4. So we've gone 1, 2, 3, and now we're in our wave 4, and then our final 5th wave should take us to 2.36 next. Maybe higher, but that's where, in terms of a harmonic pattern, that's where I see this ending up. So we're in a big wave 4. Almost every alt that I look at, or Bitcoin, are all in the same wave 4 pattern. And here's the thing. If you have a nice simple correction in wave 2, then what you can expect to see in a wave 4 is you can expect a triangle. So it'll be 5 waves like that, and off it goes. It can be a rising wedge where you get your 5 waves and looks like this, and then and the variety of what you can see, or you can see a perfect triangle before we move off again. So this is what I should actually start from the bottom, because that's what we're doing, isn't it? So that's where we are. Where do I see the floor for Bitcoin? Well, if we go back and we say that Bitcoin is actually in one of those bigger wave 4s, let's look at this on a weekly chart. And that would mean that if we're in the bigger wave 4 rather than a sub-wave 4, that would mean we're correcting from the March 2020 low. Okay, so I'm going to put my fib retraces on there. The most common, I hope you're sitting down, the most common retrace of wave 3 is 38.2. And that would take us back to 41,500. Now, I'm doing SHIB last. Sorry, SHIB's at the end. Okay, I will do SHIB though, but it's at the end. So let's look at this in a monthly, because we didn't close our month underneath this 236 fib. I would say if we close our month underneath 50,000, or if we close the weekly under 50,000 and hold under there, I think that we could very easily come back to 41,600. Yeah. Otherwise, the support is really 50,000 and around there. So that's where I see the floor. I think we could look underneath it, but I wouldn't want us to stay and hold underneath it. And yeah, So Ripple. So Ripple is in the same wave 4 pattern that Bitcoin is in. Okay, we've had first swing down, a bounce. Now we're going to get our second swing down here. I know it looks really bullish. I have to say, these little inside bars, I was ready to buy Ripple to fly, you know. I thought as long as we stay above the midpoint of this green candle and we make little inside bars, we should fly higher. But we haven't. Today it looks like we're going to close underneath. If we close a bit lower and we close underneath the 20 moving average, then this is going to be the double top swing failure pattern that I think it is. So look, that's where we make a high and then we try another high, can't sustain it and close underneath. And in which case, we'll measure again where our first support is going to be for Ripple. Down here at 1.1. So if we lose this 20 moving average, which at the moment, in other words, close underneath it, which at the moment is 1.45, I think that we could drop to 1.1. So that's quite a lot. So yeah, watch out and Ripple. Now, as long as we hold this level, if we turn higher tomorrow, big green candle, break out of this declining little channel that we're in, then happy days. I think, you know, all good, isn't it? But this is a little bit of a bearish close for me now, so we need to be a little bit careful. Okay, I haven't got BCH on the list, but I will say that they're all doing the same kind of thing. So, you know, BCH is in that same sideways consolidation. It could pull back a little bit further from here to 0.02, and then I expect it to continue higher. So all the same, they're all doing the same pattern. So, and it's frustrating. Now, waves, this one caught me today. So I actually thought that waves might be, I'm going to put regular candles on, I've got Heiken on. I thought that waves might be on the move with a nice breakout. I had it drawn like this. I'm looking at this big kind of fib resistance zone, but false breakout. So back underneath, and so I'm out of it. I tried it as a long and it didn't work. You know, one of the things when the market moves to new highs, it usually makes a big green candle, like here, big green candle, and nobody can catch it when it's going to do that. And what you don't want to see is little false breakouts. So I'm flat again, waiting to see for waves to set up again. Again, I think that this is bullish sideways consolidation at this fib level, and if we can break this fib level, we go up to 53 to 55 next. So yeah, again, false breakouts really are nasty reversal signals. So I'm not going to wait for it. Doge, a little bit disappointed in Doge. Didn't quite get to the target that I was looking for. Okay, so, but here we are with the pullback. Let's put log scale on and have a look at how we got here. Because I'm starting to think that we can count 5 waves. And so this is 1, big 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 3, wave 4. And so this was wave 5. And if we start here from this low, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. So it may be that we've completed a much bigger swing for Doge, and we're looking at a bigger pullback. Now I've got log scale on. If I put linear scale on, normally if we were going to stay in an uptrend and not do that bigger correction, I would say that 236 would hold. It didn't, we broke it, but the 38.2 in this previous high gave us a really nice bounce to get out and retest that 236 fib level. If you look at it on a 4-hour, you can see what I mean. Here was our bounce level, here was our retest if you wanted to get out. Now, one of two things is going to happen here. We're either going to hold this low on a retest and do another leg. So we do A, B, C up. So then we go first leg down, A, B, C up, second leg down, and go. Or, less likely, we're just going to continue lower And I have to say, I don't think that that is. I think it's going to chop up as many people as possible. And so another bounce before lower would do it. If I measured it, kind of reverse engineered it a bit, let's do that. See, we could squeeze all the way up here to 0.693 and then still do that next leg lower in a kind of corrective pattern. So let's see. Let's be clear. This is our support zone. We've got these two highs here, these two lows here, 32 fib. This is a fantasy fib, so I'll take this off. And so it may be, watch out that we may do another. We may even do, and this would be quite bullish if we did a little triangle here before we did that as well, because that would say that this is all just a correction for Doge. Okay? So if you've still got someone who didn't like this drop, sell rallies, we might get one here. We might squeak as high as 69, but then I'm still looking for one more big swing lower before we go up again. We might never go back below 0.45. I think if we got down to 0.37 though, it would be a really nice gift. This too, you know, a gift to buy down there. So let's see how we go. All right then. That was Litecoin, EOS, Matic. So Litecoin's been outperforming, hasn't it? And as in outperforming Bitcoin, which is always a little bit of a surprise. Now, here we are. This is another one that's really outperforming the way Ethereum is. I feel though that we are in a big wave 3, and if you like, and at some point we are going to see a bigger correction. Now, I put my fibs on. Coinbase has the most volume for Litecoin, so we're going to use Coinbase charts, even if you haven't got an account there. And I'm going to put my fibs on from this high to this low that we made at the end of 2017, because you can see that this is like a staircase, and we've climbed up through the levels, haven't we? Now that we are above this, now people say to me, well, where do you get this 886 fib from? Okay, well, the 786 is the square root of the 61.8. The 886 is the square root of the 786. Okay, so that's where these two fib levels came from. You can see that they marked the highs very clearly. Now we're above this 886 level, so I'm looking for this to hold as support, 374.6. As long as it does, we are still climbing the staircase, going up higher. If this breaks, then we will come back to 334, but quite possibly all the way back to these previous lows and 221. So that's where we know we're wrong in Litecoin. So that's where we're watching to see as we hold as support. If you look at on the hourly, you can see here we are testing it. So if this 374 breaks, 334 is the next support, and potentially lower. Okay, still in an uptrend otherwise. Retest the highs at 420 and so on. Blimsy says the Doge crowd are putting a lot of energy into this community coin. Yeah. And you know, I mean, I joke about Doge and Litecoin and, you know, what do they do? But at the end of the day, you know, if you need to move money, actually need money, it is much cheaper to do it in Doge or Litecoin. The problem is if they want to be that and they want to be a store of value, this volatility is not really, you know, they're just basically speculative bets still, aren't they? All right, let's look at EOS and then Matic. Now, EOS. Again, a reversal of the 786, which breaks here, which breaks the 61.8 here, usually goes to the 38.2. That's what's going on for me in EOS Tether here. This is a weekly chart. So we reversed the 786. We're underneath this. I think that this is where we're coming back to. And this lovely 5-wave swing that we've done is finished. We're going to look for a 3-wave correction back to 6.8. So Yeah. Now, what if you've got some, and this, so far, look at this daily. We haven't actually closed underneath this 61.8 level. So it might be that I stop talking, everybody buys this, and it closes back above it, and we get a green candle that holds above this level, and in which case, that isn't a bullish reversal. But if we close underneath here today and the week, then we are looking at a bigger drop. Not only that, but if we close underneath here, 10.2 will probably become resistance before we continue lower. So that's what I'd be looking for. Okay. All right. Next one we're going to look at is Matic and then BNB. So how's everyone doing? If, there's been a couple of coins, like I look at exec RLC, for example, that are just, nobody talks about, and they're just like quietly going to the moon, and you think, gosh, why wasn't I on that one? And it's so true, once something has gone a certain way, you think, oh, it's gone too far without me. I need to find the next one, not that one. Anyway, let's take a look at Matic. I got lots of drawing on this Matic chart. So this is what I was hoping Waves would do with a nice breakout today. Of course, hasn't happened yet. Now, I've put fibs from this high here to this low here on a correction. So if I filled them all in, you would see the retrace fibs, like 236, 38 point, and so on. Okay, from this low to this high. I've cleaned them up to make my chart cleaner, which you can do on TradingView. So now I'm looking for extension levels, if you blast through them, for them to be support and resistance. So our 1.618, we blasted through its support, as you can see, and now support, and now this 2.618 is resistance. Not only that, but we've got 5 waves up in Matic from this low. So a 2.618 extension, 5 waves up. We are a little bit at risk of a bigger 3-wave reversal here that would bring us back to these lows. So we need to be a little bit careful for the signals that we are going to do that. So, and if we did, we'd be looking back to the 38.2. Let me change the color of this so I can see what we're doing. There we go. Yeah, right. Back to these lows, so 0.75 in 3 waves would be what I would be looking for here. Now, if I'm wrong, obviously, if we can close above 1.011, but this is not just a 2.618 extension. This is also a big round number 1, and that's one of those levels where people who don't know any technical analysis tend to take profits at. So that's where we are in Matic. We could also put our do the same thing from this low to high here and look for our levels this way. And what's cool about this, look, see how we've got them in grey. Now I use fib numbers quite beyond most people, but you can see how the important ones line up. So if we go back to our daily, and in fact let's put them on the right so we can see them. I'm looking for confluence, I'm looking for where these numbers line up. And so here we can see that this was a big level. Potentially we could extend a little bit higher here to 29, but I would say, based on this, if we keep going, that we're looking all the way up here next. Anyway, only looking for a shallow pullback back to test 0.7 in Matic. I realise that that's actually quite a big pullback because I have my chart in log scale, but when you finish 5 waves up, back to the bottom of wave 4 is very often where you come back to. But if we close above that big number 1, watch out for 1.129, and then above there we really should keep trending higher. Okay, potentially at resistance then. So far, this price action, so really strong up and then the choppy overlapping pullbacks. This says to me, so far, not too much to worry about. And you know, even the fifth wave of the fifth wave should finish in 5 waves, and this isn't. So what I would like to see is one more push higher here in Matic, even if it's just to retest the highs, make a slightly higher high and fail. But if it goes that little bit further, 1.12. At the moment though, it looks like everything's been dragged down together, doesn't it? Okay. So support here, keep an eye on it, see what happens when we retest the highs in Matic. We do have room to squeeze a little bit higher to 1.129. All right, BNB, XLM. One of the hardest things to learn is trading is patience, waiting for what you want. And one of the things that's been hardest in BNB is, you know, it's really race. So this is what I wrote online today. I think that we are potentially from either this low or this low, but I think this low, 1, 2, 3, wave 4, and we've still got one more swing higher to go to 795 in BNB. So for me though, we need to hold support at 600, and worst case drop down to 570. Below 570, I'm a bit bigger bearish, and we're in a much bigger correction and a pullback in BNB. I've done a lot of measurements that push like this, but that's the kind of long and the short of it. 619 or 620 is ideal support, really. We don't, and if we drop a little bit lower, 600, and this is just sideways consolidation in an uptrend, and I think it's the wave 4, and I'm looking for 795. So what does being patient mean? We have to wait for this third wave to play out. So 1, 2, 3, and that's could take a couple of days. So 645, yeah, but definitely 600, this 610, 600 level, I think is where we're coming back to. Now, because it's a wave 4, we could also see potentially 5 waves, sideways, triangle, wedge, or something like that. So we need to be a little bit careful. Okay, BNB then, sideways, wave 4 consolidation, just like all of these other coins, I think. May can be a tricky month, you know, in stock indexes. You can be quite bullish the first half and then end up pretty ugly. Let's hope that's not what happens this month and it drags everything down. XLM is one of these much more bullish charts. Let's put our regular candles on, because today, when everything else is having a bit of a nasty toppy day, we are actually sideways at the highs. We're sideways at, you know, there's a 4-hour chart. If we look at the daily chart, you can see that we've had a nice big breakout. When you have a break to new highs, what you want to see is a big bullish candle that closes above it. We are closing above all of these highs here. But if we go back to left to this little one here, left one, we haven't quite taken out that high, have we? Which is really frustrating. I do think we're going to squeeze a bit higher. The big XLM Bitcoin 236 fib is 1385. But this is XLM Bitcoin. It may mean that they both go down together and just XLM outperforms. So I'm a little bit bullish XLM Bitcoin, still further to go to 1385. But if I look at XLM dollar, or dollar tether, I don't need that. Again, really bullish, but just hit another one, those damn levels. Let's see if there's any compliments here as well. Yeah, not so much. Which one are we gonna? Now, if we look at XLM US dollar, at the moment, unless barring a catastrophe, this is a nice close at new highs, and we have broken out above a previous double top. So that's about as good as it gets. As long as we close above it, then we can look for shallow pullbacks. I really wouldn't want more than 50% of the body of the candle and then we keep going higher. For me, the next upside target in XLM US dollar is 1.011. So basically that round number 1 is where XLM US dollar is gunning for. Now, a less bullish picture, third touches of trend lines are very often false breakouts. A less bullish picture would be if we closed back underneath these highs tonight, and that's at 0.6838. So the daily close back underneath there would be less exciting, unfortunately. And we would then be a bear underneath 0.635. So those are our two levels. Okay. So hoping this can hold on and keep going. It's one of the few that's actually held up today, you know, and the pullback hasn't put it in a bearish position. So right, excellent. Where are we next? Audio. This is a nice chart. One of the things I get really nervous by setups, you know, and today's probably a good example. Setups on a Monday morning can look so enticing, and so often that they're the wrong way. They're the ones that the start of the week that sets you going the wrong way. So we'll look at SHIB in a minute, because that's actually saving itself at the moment. It's not as bearish as I want it. Now, here's a 4-hour chart of audio. This was all set for a really nice 4-hour buy. I was hoping that we would build a inverted head and shoulders pattern in audio, and if that's the case, then we've kind of got this support level this way here, and in the middle somewhere where you get the most touches, or the most middle of this range, this high, this low, this high, these lows. This is kind of our right shoulder support, if you like. But because we've got a sloping neckline, or we would have, sometimes you get the sloping shoulders as well. Not a big fan of this, but I don't mind so much when they slope down. So it would look like that. And then the shoulders would look like that, so we'd have a little bit more wiggle room. So somewhere in this zone, we really need to find support and turn up higher again, or we're not going to get this pretty reversal pattern that we like. So let's see what fibs tell us if we do this. And see where we come back to. This is a 61.8. So, you know, I'd really like to see this 61.8 held, I think. 61.8s can be a little bit messy, so we can look the other side, but I really don't want to close underneath 2.059. That's our support, and I'd like to see it turn up higher from here. If we look at it on a 4-hour, you know how the 61.8, 38.2 is the golden ratio zone? So here we bounce from the 61.8 up to the 38.2. Here we are back again. It is important that this level now holds, I think. Otherwise, 786, and then down, keep going down, you know. Damn, it was so many. This today looked so enticing. If we draw this as a little channel here, you know, we had a really nice breakout from this little channel. Everything was looking good, wasn't it, to go up, and yeah, got wrecked. So typical nasty Monday move. So this is the support, 2.059, and otherwise look for 1.77. When we get down to 1.77, we will be a harmonic pattern called a bullish Gartley pattern. That's where you have a bounce from the 61.8 and your third swing takes you down to the 786. The best ones have equal measure move. That actually gives us a zone a little bit lower. And so I'm going to measure this. I think that this was low of A, funky ABC. They don't really line up, do they? No. I don't think this is going to be an ideal Gartley pattern, so let's look for these 61.8 lows to hold and see if we can, in fact, hold them and turn up higher from here. Otherwise, I would say, yeah. Whilst we're in this box, though, it's quite hard to say that we've got really any trend. Let's put our moving averages on and see. You know, we can see from our 4-hour moving averages, completely flat, sideways in the middle. I just really thought we had broken out, but there we go. So don't buy this without some pretty good bullish reversal price action. And let's see what happens here. Potentially we could be going a bit lower in audio after the false breakout today. False breakouts are really nasty. I know I keep saying it, but it'll sink in. Because you always think, oh no, is it really a false breakout, or is it just, it's a pullback, it'll be all right. And yeah, no, sometimes they really just do kill you. Now, this is not a false breakout today, but this looks like, if you were trading this on lower time frames in KNC, this looked like a really nice, it had made a really nice bottom. It looks like a, yeah, it looked like we're on our way. And this is a really, again, really nasty reversal, lower high, and so on. 61.8, we've gone smashed through all the levels. We need to spike up higher pretty soon, otherwise this is going to just be a false breakout from, and then a bear flag. And this was another one that looked all set to make a really good move today. Yeah. Let's see. So I think we've made a big swing down, swing up, and we're going to see a third swing. These, interestingly, are subdividing into 3 waves potentially, but that's happens. So first support, if we carry on lower, is these lows, and 2.98, and potentially we come all the way down to 2.18 if we lose or drop the support below 2.98. Long tails. Fictitious Fables of Europa. That's a good name. Get some good names here. Another way to look at this would be, you know, especially with this retest, this is another 786 fib reversal, isn't it? And so there's our 61.8. There's also our 38.2. So that reversal of 786 comes back to the 38.2, so 3.03 again, and back to these lows is where I think we are headed in an ABC pattern. And yeah, gosh, look, big picture. Should we be worried? No. Again, I still think this is a big 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've got 5 to come. One of the rules is that this wave 4 can't drop into wave 1 territory or close in wave 1 territory. So that's these highs here. We haven't come close. So yeah, long term, I'm not bearish that this is the high forever in KNC, but all of these altcoins look the same in that respect. Okay, sorry it's not better news. Uni banned Luna. Uni. Everything that we looked at is turning down. Big wave 4 is here. Here's Uni. I thought this was a little bit of a breakout. Let's go to the weekly. Had a really strong move, didn't we? Above these previous highs, exactly kind of what you want to see when you have a breakout. I'm a little bit concerned now because I think this is 1, 2, and now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, 5 waves complete. We could see a big 3-wave correction, and it could bring us back to well, maybe 26, but potentially down to 17. Let's get out of log scale and go into linear. I think 26 is probably where we're going to come back to. Just going to check under the hood that. Yeah, I did. Okay. So we'll do our fibs on the whole of wave 3. First support, then 34.79, and potentially then 28.48 in these previous lows. Those are the two levels that I'd be looking for next. If I'm wrong about this count, and this is actually, you know, we could come all the way back to the 50%, but for now, those two levels are where I'd be, the first place that I'd be looking for the right price action to buy, especially this 34.79. Look at the lovely support and resistance at this level. You know, this is definitely got a lot lining up for it to be support in uni. 34.79. Next one is band. This morning, so many of these looked quite promising. Today, gosh, here's band. Now, when we were looking at this morning, see, looked at this doji candle yesterday off the 20 moving average, and that looks really bullish, and this is a really nasty false breakout, because if we look at these candlesticks, it would have tripped the longs. People ever look at all these pin bars as being really bullish. I personally don't like to trade them until I've seen the lows tested quite often, but this would have tripped everybody long above this, and now a horrible bearish engulfing back underneath the daily 50 moving average. This in band is a really bearish candle. So where are we going to come back to? So we've had our first initial drop, big ABC equal measured move. This is what told you that we were not in a new uptrend, because this ABC pattern that we've now reversed. And so now if we measure from this high to this low and project it from here, it looks to me like, let's hide those. Our first target is going to be down here, 13.07. That's a long way. And potentially 8.3. Let's try and hold the 13.7, or at least these lows in the 200 moving average. That would probably be my second target for a bounce. So if we go through this 61.8, this is the kind of level where you would come down to then, and then expect it to bounce and retest before we carried on. So these previous lows at 11. So supported 11, support and resistance at 13, and 8.3 where I think we could end up in band. Just yeah, horrible. Okay, Lena, SUSHI. Now Lena was one of the ones that was doing a little better. Looked like it was, if it was going to, you know, if you were looking for the altcoins that weren't going to care about the bigger market sell-off, Luna was one of them. Not quite here. Let's have a look. Okay, Luna, we don't need log scale. We'll take this off. So this morning, I was looking at this 61.8, 38.2 zone that we're in this box here. And there it is. And it looked like Luna was getting ready to break above this 50% midpoint and retest the highs, and hopefully, you know, leg up, sideways correction, next leg higher. It didn't. It was a complete all the way up, false breakout, and then all the way back to the lows. So clearly, this 38.2 is still support, and we're testing it. we're having a little bit of a look underneath it. If it doesn't hold, then the next support is here at 14.18. At the moment, this is quite a big move on a daily scale. It's rare to see a move bigger than this. You know, we've done our average daily range, so I wouldn't be surprised if we just have a little overshoot and find support here and close back above 1575. Let's see. This may be a little fakey, shaky underneath the level move. We'll see when this hourly candle closes anyway. If we do, again, 14.18. Another way to look at this, let's get rid of the fibs. We know we're in this box, let's get rid of that. Another way to look at this would be to say we're in this funky declining channel. Let's wait till we get out of it. And maybe we squeeze a little bit lower, something like that. I do prefer, I must admit, horizontal support and resistance, but so Luna, potentially a bounce level here at the bottom of that 618 38.2 zone thing. If we can close back above 15.75, otherwise I think we've got further to fall. Link has not been covered yet, no. I'll try and see if I can get it on the end. So SUSHI, ETC, KSM, SUSHI. Everybody wants to know about SHIB. I'll do SHIB, don't worry. So here's SUSHI dollar. They all look very similar, don't they? The difference is that this one, let's go to 4 again. The difference with this one is that we reversed at the 50% level, not the 61.8. Does that make a difference? Yeah, it does. So from this, if we go down on this 4 hour, from this high all the way down to where we are now, this was our fib retrace, and we reversed at the 50%. Couldn't close above it. When you do that, you're always looking for 50% back. A mean reverting market tends to keep mean reverting till it breaks out of the pattern. So if we were to bounce rapidly here and close back above this 50% level at 10.94, we will probably bounce 50%. If we can't and it's underneath, we're going to stay underneath it. So not looking very good. A lot of stuff is dropping hard, isn't it? Bitcoin. Let's pop back to Bitcoin and then I'll do your SHIB. So okay. Our first support is a little bit lower, isn't it? At 53,000. So it is a little bit of a, guys, it's not okay, it's not a bloodbath yet in Bitcoin. It may be in some other markets, and yeah, it you know, some of these stock indexes, certainly it could turn into a really nasty day. This does happen in February. Does happen in February. Remember, the level that we're looking to daily close above in the Nasdaq is 13,337. It's already a really nasty bearish outside day in the S&P. Big daily shooting star in the Dow Jones. Yeah, time to de-risk, you know. Have less. So reminder, we're at 54,600. Okay, we've got two supports. We've got two supports here in Bitcoin. These previous lows at 53,000, and underneath 53,000 is 50,000, which is the big 236 fib. But this is the bottom rail of a bearish flag potentially, you know. Right when it usually looks the absolute worst is usually when it tends to bounce. Not always, but usually. So don't be surprised. Okay. I don't think this bounce in the bottom. I don't think this bounce is the bottom in Bitcoin either, I'm afraid, unfortunately. I think we hit our double top target. So when you have a double top in Bitcoin like we got here, then the low in the middle is like your midpoint, okay? And when you reach, so your target is twice the distance from here to here. It's the same as a head and shoulders pattern. All of these sideways patterns, they have the similar target. And so if we measure from this high to low, we haven't quite reached it yet. Got a little bit further. It's these lows. And so I think we might have a little bounce here in a wave 4, but we've still got another leg lower to come. Same with ETH, we talked about where the support is 36, 37. Haven't quite reached it yet. Look at how the dip's getting brought up in ETH though. They couldn't quite wait. They wanted to front run the level. Tax down on the 15th of May, yeah. And people do have to sell. You know, this is why it can be quite nasty in stock indexes. Some people do need to, you know, we've had a really difficult pandemic, haven't we? And a lockdown, and for some people, you know, their only income was from investing, and yeah, so they may need to sell some stuff to pay taxes. All right, let's move on. SUSHI doesn't look very good. Ethereum Classic, which was on fire. Are we still outperforming on the pullbacks? Let's take a look at Ethereum Classic Bitcoin, because you kind of really want to make sure that you are in an uptrend on all of these. If we go all-time highs to lows, well, here's the good news. We didn't get as far as that 786 fib level. So we're going to apply the rules from the 50% because we didn't tag it. And so that's going to say that this reversal of 61.8 has potential support at the 38.2, which is 16,713. We're almost there. And that if we break it, we're going to go down to this 236, which is 10,954. So support here and support here. Almost at that higher support. Almost, yeah, one more little. See if swings usually end with 5 waves. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, bounce, 4, and hopefully 16,713 will hold as support. If it doesn't, we're going to drop down to 10,954. So important support here for ETH Classic. And second one. Okay. Gosh, higher they rally, the harder they fall almost, isn't it? So let's look for KSM. Regular candles. So again, we've talked about how some of these look like they're in a bigger wave 4. I think KSM probably not so. I think KSM, when I look at these previous, you know, I think that this was a big wave 1, and now we're in a big wave 2 in KSM, which means that we could come back way further than the 38.2 so far. 50% and a bounce. Where does that mean that our next target is going to come? Let's go to the daily. So big 5-wave rally. Okay, now we've had our big wave 1. I think we're going to do 2 and then 3. So this is one that's going to go sideways for a bit. This is, you know, B leg, and then we'll do finish. We can make a new low and then go like that, something like that. So let's going to put my fibs on this way, make them a different color so I can see what's going on. We're going to do this, and so this is 61.8, 38.2. Now we might rally from here, and if we did, then either way, the same target's the same, 786. Or we might drop back from here and do this, but that's what I'd be looking for next. Okay, so 390, maybe 349, and then we should see another leg higher in to finish this B leg in KSM before the next leg lower. Big sideways consolidation. Be patient in KSM. ICX is next. Another one that looked like it was really getting ready to go somewhere. And false breakout. Oh, look at this. Now, okay, 886, and we've blown through the 50% in the middle, so 1.93 is where I think the support is going to come. And let's measure it. Let's see if that's also. So if this is our first ABC down, ABC up, now we're going to do our final leg down of correction. Okay, so we're going to measure the first leg from this high to this low, and we're going to project it from up here. I'm going to look and see where that 61.8 level comes in, and it's a little bit lower, 2.059, and if we don't hold this level, we're going to drop all the way down here to 1.41. So 2.059, 1.418 are where I'm looking for this next drop. So you had the warning drop, the rally, and now here's our second. Interesting how, you know, even though we've got low high, we couldn't close above these highs, could we, on the weekly? We're back below this high as well, so there you go. Still in a bigger correction, unfortunately, and sideways trading range for so many of these coins. Okay, next one we're going to look at is VIDT. Let's see what that one's going on about. VIDT THETA I got asked for, so VIDT data is what we'll do. Data link, there we go. Again, as usual, we're going to start on the weekly and see how we're doing, because I got to say there's no trend. Like, we could say, oh, this is 5 ways up, but this should never have come all the way back down here. And so this is really kind of not the pattern, not the lovely pattern that we think it is. And now with this failure at this previous high, it's like, what are... Now, I know leading diagonals can maybe be funky. So we're going to put our all-time highs fibs from this low to this high. So we've got a swing failure pattern here, haven't we, where we've made a new high, couldn't close there, and we're back underneath it. That in its own is quite bearish. So now we're going to take these fib levels from the lows and say this 236 fib is support, and if we close underneath it, it will become resistance. So if we are going to try again at the highs, or if we're not, if we're going to stay in an uptrend, we really need to stay above 1.437. If we close underneath 1.437, then we could see us all the way back to 0.975 and this sort of 50% level in the middle. See how these highs, these lows, there is a kind of around really round number 1 and sort of down to 0.95, there is this support and resistance zone back in the middle. So underneath here, back down to here. Unfortunately, be careful. So 1.437 is key for the daily close in VIDT if we're going to keep going up. Dash has been, oh look, starting to turn up higher. Here's one that chart, this is Dash US dollar. And believe it or not, this doesn't look like a catastrophe, does it? Like some of the others. It's a bit of a catastrophe for me because this level that we haven't been able to hold above is a big 236 fib, which I was hoping we would. We held it for 1, 2, 3 days. And now we're back underneath it. And this chart pattern is annoying because it feels like every time you make a new high, you make a choppy overlapping correction as well. So we'll go from the lows. And we'll look for this 236 to be support, and if it doesn't, so if we close under 372, yeah, I think we're going to come back to 255 in this 50% level and previous lows. In 3 waves, but that's where we'll come back to. So, bit of dumping going on, but for a lot of things, these are good levels. Now, if we bounce here and we have a daily close back above 372, that would still be quite bullish for Dash, and then I'd be looking for the bounce to see where it takes us back to. First stop would be back to these previous highs at 432. If this is just a false breakdown, remember, this would be quite a bullish reversal signal. If it's not, then this is the left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and we have got much further to fall. Back to this 50% at 255. So 372 is key. Otherwise, we're going to get down to 255 in Dash dollar. Silver. So that's the metal. Somebody asked me to look at the metal, and I put it in the wrong place. So in terms of the metals, silver is probably the more, the one that I was a little bit more bullish of, longer term, but copper is absolutely smashing it, and copper didn't care so much about this move today. There's no bearish reversal here yet either. When you look at a chart, this Dr. Copper chart, so you have a big thrust candle followed by a gap higher. We're only bearish if this candle closes more than 50% down of the open close, not the little tails of this green candle. So that means that, say here, for copper, our support is 4.678. That's a good one to bear in mind. Even when you look at moves like we've just had in silver, so big thrust candle, couple of dojis, as long as we don't close below the midpoint here of the big thrust up candle, we're going to count as still in an uptrend. So I would also measure the open close, and that if that's a little bit lower, I would move it lower to cover that. So that's where our support is for silver. Also, if we zoom out from this high to this low, this is a 61.8 reversal. This pivot level is the 50%. If that breaks, then we're going to come all the way down to 26. It's not the end of the world, is it? 26.19, I mean. So 26.92 support, 26.19 lower support, and we're bearish underneath that level. Two little dojis in a row like this usually do mean that we'll probably end up going lower. Okay, that's silver. Dot we've already done, so I won't. Oh no, I haven't done polka dot, have I? Dot, I have done theta, so no. I have dot AAVE theta SHIB. Okay, dot. You need nerves of steel on days like today. Some days you'll get to the end of the day and you'll just feel shell-shocked just from watching it. On days like that, make sure you're nice to yourself. Don't overdo it. Okay. So Polkadot tether. Whenever you get a double top like this, or the kind of double top that we had here, which was a swing failure pattern, which we had with the highs on the 3rd of April, that's always a sign that we've stopped going up. And then you need to wait for the pullback and the time to tell us that we were going up again. This looks really good, but this lower high thing, unfortunately, let's hide these. Now we need to look with this reversal for the fib pattern that's going on. So reversal is 786. First target is the 38.2. Second is the 236 fib. So 31.76 for DOT. A little bit lower. That's where the first potential support is. But because this is a big corrective move, we can measure this swing and project it from here. And if we're going to do the full ABC equal measured move, this will end up down here at 22.17. So 30.5 support and then 22.17 support. I'm not sure that we're going to get all the way down there. I think we might do the head and shoulders or something, but it's not very balanced. When you're drawing a head and shoulders pattern, you really kind of want the right shoulder and the left shoulder to be kind of equal in size and time and space, if you like. So for that to happen here, in this case, it would mean doing quite a bit of this, you know, before we went and retested that level. And who knows, you know, we might still. Okay, I'm looking for a little bit lower before we bounce, 30.47 in DOT tether. Next one we're looking for is lend theta SHIB. Okay, lend AAVE. Now, when I was looking at this earlier today, I thought this was a bear flag. This was resistance on the top. It's worked out that way. Here was our target down here. We haven't quite tagged it, 393. That's annoying. Well, you know, sometimes they go early, you can't. Yeah, nothing you can do. So if this is a bigger head and shoulders pattern, which it could be, if we draw it like this, we'd want to see us above the neckline. That's my phone telling me to go to bed. Okay. Yeah, now we could recover this neckline and that would be quite a bullish false breakdown, wouldn't it? Even though we didn't quite hit our target. If we don't though, we get resistance around here and we turn lower again, then this time hopefully we'll hit our target a little bit lower at 393 in lend, AAVE. Next one is THETA. So weird, I thought I did THETA. Now, let's look at this weekly chart. Because this is another one where really nasty drop, and then this bounce. We're not clear if this is a B leg or just the first start of a five-way swing for your B leg. If we look under the hood a little bit, if we look at a 4-hour chart, short, yeah. So 61.8 reversal. Let's move these under these lows. There's quite a lot of support here. Okay, so when you reverse to the 61.8, if you lose the 38.2, you come down to the 236. That's 9.24. So this means this 38.2 now is resistance as well. So if we can't get above that level and hold underneath 10.51, we're still looking at one more push lower for THETA token. Let's hope. Okay. Yeah. THETA token needs support at 9.24. So that's what I'd really, really like to see. Okay, I'm going to do SHIB. Now, when we looked at this earlier today, it looked like it had stopped at a equal measured move level, which was a little bit of a concern. And now I'm not sure. I keep seeing it trading above it. So here's the thing. If I measure, if I measure from this low to this high and project it from here, that's the equal measured move, resistance. That's where we should have taken our target. Okay. Since then, we've fallen back. When you fall back, as long as you don't fall back underneath the 61.8 level, which is here at 2483, you're still in an uptrend and looking for a nice wave 5. Yeah, so I've seen this try and trick people either way, and I really don't know which way it's going to go. And I feel like almost I kind of want to wait to let it go again and form a trend and then get going, but yeah, I don't know. Unless we can close above 3,331, that's how it's looking. Okay, let's look for some requests. Let's look at this on, actually have a quick peek on the hourly. So far this is holding, look, double bottom on the hourly. This is holding the support, so looking pretty good, isn't it? No reason to dump it. Listen, there's no reason to dump SHIB yet. Okay? It closed underneath these lows, then I would do it. Okay. Hello, Jack Gwen. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question about timeframes. Would I look at Rune? Yes, I'll look at Rune. Here's some Rune. Yeah. Has anyone got any questions about DOD? Okay. So SHIB, that's what we're looking for. We've covered everything, I think, haven't we? Let me look at the most up to date. XMR. Monero. Hasn't Monero being outperformed? I've seen this quite often though. There's a little bit of a pattern where right before Bitcoin gets a drop, Monero will outperform. It's like all the OGs are pushing their money into Monero and boom. Anyway, on a monthly chart, this looks like we tested these previous highs and haven't been able to hold a new high. So as you know, back testing this 886, but really, ideally, from this low, I would like to see the 236 fib, which is at 401. At the moment, holding very politely. But 401, yeah, that was the low today. That's the low that we need to hold above if we're going to stay in an uptrend. More than that, our next support is 329, and this, the easy way to remember it is your support is the daily 20 moving average and the daily 50 moving average. So if we continue lower, 329 is the second, and then 271 is the third target. Okay. 100 times coin going to the moon. Okay. So, covered SHIB. Awful lot of these have got these same reversal candles. Make sure you see low time bullish price action to buy them again. Otherwise you just might as well sit in the garden and rip up notes, you know. The mark, yeah, I'm just DGB, ICP, and VET. Digibyte. I apologize to people in my group. Anything that in the poll that only had one vote, I'm afraid I didn't list because I didn't think I would have time. Here we go. Not that I won't cover for them for you, but I will try to do the more interesting ones. Digibyte. No, 1 second. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Here we go. Now, we're looking a little bit toppy in this one, and we had the support, didn't we? At 0.13487 in Digibyte. If we continue lower, our support is down here at round number 1. That's what we're looking for. So if you didn't beat the break of the 20 moving average yesterday, if we bounce here, 0.13487 should be resistance if we bounce in our wheel chart. Okay, next one we're going to look at. Just be patient 1 second. RLC, that's crazy. RLC is just crazy. Just okay, I'm going to say goodnight because I'm so tired. I'm losing my memory. I would love to see that correlation with, yeah, like before we went through a phase, didn't we, when it was the opposite and it was all quite gentle. And so that it ended up, you know, that Bitcoin was quite a nice hedge, but it wasn't. All right, I'm going to see everyone next week, and I'll try and be